Wilhelm II, who would later become the Kaiser of the German Empire, was born as Friedrich Wilhelm Victor Albert on January 27, 1859. His birthplace was a palace on Unter den Linden Boulevard, located in Berlin, the capital of Prussia, the most powerful state in northern Germany. Wilhelm's father, Prince Frederick William, was second in line to the throne of Prussia at the time of his birth. However, Wilhelm's grandfather, also named Wilhelm, ruled as the King of Prussia because his great-uncle King Frederick William IV had become incapacitated by strokes and passed away in 1861. Wilhelm's mother was Victoria, the eldest daughter of Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom. This made Wilhelm the British Queen's grandson and tied him closely to the British royal family. Wilhelm was the eldest of his parents' children. He had several siblings, including Sophia, who would later become the Queen of Greece. From the start, Wilhelm's life was shaped by the political and social realities of being part of Europe's royal families. His birth was difficult and left him with a physical disability that would influence his personality and decisions as a ruler. Despite these challenges, his position as the future ruler of a unified Germany marked the beginning of a significant chapter in European history. Wilhelm II's entry into the world on January 27, 1859, was far from smooth. His mother, Victoria, endured a difficult labor because Wilhelm was in a breech position, meaning he was delivered feet first instead of head first. This was a dangerous situation for both the mother and the baby during the mid-19th century. The attending doctor, Edward Arnold Martin, made several mistakes during the delivery, including administering an excessive amount of chloroform for pain relief and causing a severe injury to Wilhelm's left arm while attempting to speed the process. The injury damaged the brachial plexus, a network of nerves in the shoulder, leading to a lifelong condition called Erb's palsy. Wilhelm's left arm remained underdeveloped and shorter than his right. Additionally, the overuse of chloroform and the difficult delivery may have temporarily deprived Wilhelm of oxygen, potentially causing mild brain damage that some historians suggest contributed to his hyperactive behavior as a child. These complications had a profound impact on Wilhelm's personality and leadership. Growing up in a society that valued physical strength and martial ability, Wilhelm's disability became a source of deep insecurity. This likely influenced his more aggressive tendencies and desire to prove himself later as the ruler of Germany. The events surrounding his birth and their lifelong effects shaped his character in ways that would leave a lasting mark on history. Wilhelm II received an education befitting a prince, with private tutors who were among the best available in Germany. As a child, his mother, Victoria, took a keen interest in his upbringing, driven by guilt over his birth-related disability. She pushed him to excel in activities typically expected of a Prussian prince, such as horse riding and marksmanship, despite the challenges posed by his physical condition. At the age of 4, Wilhelm traveled to Great Britain for the first time to attend the wedding of his uncle, the future King Edward VII, to Princess Alexandra of Denmark. This event marked his early exposure to international royalty and cemented his ties with the British royal family. Back in Prussia, Wilhelm continued his education with a focus on developing discipline and intellectual skills. As a teenager, Wilhelm was sent to the Friedrichsgymnasium in the German state of Hesse, one of the most prestigious schools in the region. Later, he attended the University of Bonn, where he studied law and politics, showing promise in these subjects. Following his academic studies, Wilhelm began his military career with the Prussian 1st Regiment of Foot Guards in Potsdam, near Berlin. Wilhelm's education and early military service played crucial roles in shaping his character. They instilled a sense of duty, loyalty, and ambition, but also heightened his insecurities and desire to prove his worth in a society that valued military excellence. Wilhelm II grew up during a transformative period in German history. By the time of his birth in 1859, the German-speaking regions of Europe were divided into multiple states, with Prussia and Austria being the most powerful. These states were loosely connected through the declining Holy Roman Empire, which had been dissolved by Napoleon Bonaparte in 1806. For centuries, Germany remained fragmented, lacking the unity that many other European nations had achieved. The mid-19th century saw the rise of nationalism, with movements across Europe advocating for unified nation-states. In Germany, this movement was led by Otto von Bismarck, a brilliant Prussian statesman who became the driving force behind German unification. Bismarck's blood and iron policy emphasized the need for military strength and decisive action. Under his leadership, Prussia defeated Denmark, Austria, and France in a series of wars between 1864 and 1871, paving the way for the creation of the German Empire. The unification was formally declared on January 18, 1871, at the Palace of Versailles in France. Wilhelm's grandfather, King Wilhelm I of Prussia, was proclaimed Kaiser, or Emperor, of the newly unified Germany. This event marked the rise of Germany as a major European power, rivaling Britain, France, and Russia. Although Wilhelm II was still a child at the time, the unification deeply influenced his life and reign. Growing up in a unified and militarily dominant Germany shaped his worldview and fostered his ambition to further Germany's power. The political structures established by Bismarck also set the stage for the challenges Wilhelm would face as Kaiser. Wilhelm II was a complex and controversial figure whose personality and leadership style left a significant mark on history. From an early age, he exhibited traits of intelligence and imagination, but was also known for being headstrong, impulsive, and deeply insecure. These insecurities were largely rooted in his birth complications and physical disability, which left him with an underdeveloped left arm. Growing up in a society that valued martial prowess, Wilhelm's desire to prove himself often manifested in aggressive behavior and a need for validation. As Kaiser, Wilhelm was highly ambitious and sought to establish Germany as a dominant global power. He had a flair for public appearances and grand statements, often using dramatic rhetoric to inspire his people and assert Germany's position on the world stage. However, his impulsiveness and tendency to ignore experienced advisors frequently led to diplomatic tensions and poor decision-making. Wilhelm's leadership style was characterized by a combination of authoritarianism and a lack of strategic foresight. He often clashed with his ministers and military leaders, preferring to assert his personal authority over government affairs. His dismissal of Otto von Bismarck in 1890 was a pivotal moment that reflected his determination to control the empire's direction. While Wilhelm's charisma and ambition energized Germany's development, his erratic leadership and disregard for cautious diplomacy contributed to international tensions. These tensions would eventually culminate in the outbreak of the First World War, a conflict that defined his reign and shaped the 20th century. Wilhelm II faced significant diplomatic challenges early in his reign, many of which were shaped by his desire to assert Germany's power and influence on the global stage. His approach to foreign policy often clashed with the cautious strategies of his predecessor, Otto von Bismarck, who had carefully maintained a balance of power in Europe. Wilhelm dismissed Bismarck in 1890, signaling a shift toward a more aggressive and unpredictable diplomatic stance. One of Wilhelm's first major moves was to allow the reinsurance treaty with Russia to lapse in 1890. This treaty had been a cornerstone of Bismarck's strategy to avoid conflict between Germany, Russia, and Austria-Hungary. By abandoning it, Wilhelm strained Germany's relations with Russia, pushing the nation closer to France and setting the stage for the alliances that would define the First World War. Wilhelm also pursued an ambitious policy of colonial expansion, known as Weltpolitik, or world politics. This strategy aimed to establish Germany as a global power through the acquisition of overseas colonies and a strong naval presence. However, his focus on building a powerful navy antagonized Britain, which viewed Germany's naval ambitions as a direct threat to its dominance at sea. These early diplomatic missteps, including Wilhelm's inflammatory speeches and unpredictable behavior, alienated key allies and heightened tensions with rival powers. His decision-making often lacked the strategic foresight necessary to maintain stability in Europe. Instead, it contributed to the formation of opposing alliances and increased the risk of conflict. Wilhelm II's ambition to make Germany a global power led to an aggressive policy of colonial expansion, known as Weltpolitik or world politics. This approach marked a significant departure from Otto von Bismarck's more cautious foreign policy, which had largely avoided overseas ventures. Under Wilhelm's leadership, Germany sought to compete with established colonial powers like Britain and France, acquiring territories in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. By 1900, Germany's colonial empire included German East Africa, German Southwest Africa, German Cameroon, and Togo in Africa, as well as territories in the Pacific such as New Guinea and the Bismarck Archipelago. While these acquisitions boosted Germany's international presence, they also led to diplomatic tensions with other European powers, particularly Britain and France. Colonial expansion came at a high cost. In German Southwest Africa, the Herero and Nama peoples revolted against German rule in the early 1900s. The German response, led by General Lothar von Trotha, was brutal and resulted in the genocide of tens of thousands of indigenous people. This atrocity marked one of the earliest genocides of the 20th century and stained Germany's colonial legacy. Wilhelm's colonial policies ultimately fueled international rivalries and contributed to the growing tensions that would lead to the First World War. His pursuit of global influence through colonialism demonstrated his ambition, but also revealed the dangers of overextending Germany's resources and alienating other nations. As Europe moved closer to the First World War, Wilhelm II played a central role in shaping Germany's pre-war alliances and military strategies. His reign saw a shift in the diplomatic landscape, with Germany increasingly isolated due to Wilhelm's aggressive policies and unpredictable behavior. The lapse of the reinsurance treaty with Russia in 1890 pushed Russia toward an alliance with France, Germany's long-standing rival. This Franco-Russian alliance, solidified in 1894, created a significant challenge for Germany, which now faced the possibility of a two-front war. Wilhelm's naval ambitions further strained relations with Britain. The German naval buildup, intended to challenge British dominance at sea, led to an arms race and pushed Britain closer to France and Russia, culminating in the formation of the Triple Entente in 1907. Germany's response was to strengthen its alliance with Austria-Hungary and Italy, forming the Triple Alliance. However, this partnership was fraught with tensions, particularly as Austria-Hungary's conflicts in the Balkans risked drawing Germany into regional disputes. Militarily, Germany developed the Schlieffen Plan, a strategy to quickly defeat France by invading through neutral Belgium before turning to confront Russia. The plan reflected Germany's belief in rapid and decisive action, but underestimated the complexities of a two-front war and the diplomatic consequences of violating Belgian neutrality. Wilhelm's leadership during this period lacked the foresight to prevent the escalation of tensions. His alliances and military strategies, though ambitious, ultimately created the conditions for the outbreak of a devastating global conflict. Wilhelm II's leadership during the First World War was marked by a mixture of ambition, misjudgment, and diminished authority. The war began in 1914 following the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary. Germany, under Wilhelm's leadership, issued a blank check to Austria-Hungary, pledging unconditional support in its conflict with Serbia. This assurance emboldened Austria-Hungary to issue harsh demands on Serbia, triggering a chain reaction of alliances and leading to the outbreak of war. Initially, Wilhelm was confident in Germany's military superiority. The Schlieffen Plan was put into action, aiming for a swift victory by invading Belgium to outflank France. However, the plan faltered, and Germany became embroiled in a prolonged two-front war. Britain declared war on Germany after its violation of Belgian neutrality, further complicating Germany's position. As the war progressed, Wilhelm's influence over military decisions diminished. Power shifted to military leaders like Paul von Hindenburg and Erich Ludendorff, who effectively took control of German strategy. Wilhelm was relegated to a ceremonial role, attending public events and attempting to boost morale, while the military dictated the course of the war. Germany's resources were stretched thin, and morale deteriorated as the war dragged on. The United States' entry into the war in 1917 further tipped the balance against Germany. By late 1918, with military defeat imminent and domestic unrest escalating, Wilhelm was forced to abdicate. His role in the war highlighted his inability to navigate complex international crises and maintain control over Germany's military and political leadership. Wilhelm II's reign came to an abrupt end in 1918 as Germany faced defeat in the First World War. By late October, widespread unrest and strikes erupted across Germany due to food shortages, economic hardship, and disillusionment with the war. The revolution began with a naval mutiny in Kiel on November 3, which quickly spread throughout the country. Recognizing that his continued rule was untenable, Wilhelm abdicated the throne on November 9, 1918. He also renounced the claims of his family to the imperial title. That same day, Germany was declared a republic, ending over 4 decades of the German Empire. Fearing for his safety amid the revolutionary chaos, Wilhelm sought asylum in the neutral Netherlands. On November 10, he crossed the border and began his life in exile. Wilhelm initially resided in Castle Amerongen before settling at Huisdoorn, a manor house he purchased in 1920. There, he lived a relatively quiet life, engaging in hobbies such as writing his memoirs and studying archaeology. He also developed a reputation as a lumberjack, personally chopping wood on his estate. Although he retained some wealth and possessions, his life in exile was a significant departure from his earlier imperial status. Despite his reduced circumstances, Wilhelm remained a controversial figure. He expressed disdain for the Weimar Republic and initially showed cautious support for Adolf Hitler before becoming critical of the Nazi regime's policies, particularly its treatment of Jewish people. Wilhelm lived out his final years at Huisdoorn, passing away in 1941 at the age of 82. His remains were buried on the estate, fulfilling his wish not to return to Germany unless the monarchy was restored. Wilhelm II's legacy remains one of the most debated aspects of modern German history. As the last Kaiser of Germany, he presided over a transformative and tumultuous era that included rapid industrialization, colonial expansion, and the First World War. While some historians view him as an ambitious and charismatic leader, others criticize him for his impulsive nature and poor decision-making, which contributed to the outbreak of war and Germany's subsequent defeat. Wilhelm's dismissal of Otto von Bismarck and his aggressive foreign policies marked a shift from cautious diplomacy to a more confrontational approach. This alienated key allies and fueled tensions with Britain, France, and Russia. His role in the First World War, though diminished as military leaders took control, underscored his inability to manage crises effectively. In exile, Wilhelm remained a divisive figure, expressing conflicting views on events in Germany and the rise of the Nazi regime. His actions and policies have been linked to the conditions that enabled the radicalism of the 1930s and 1940s. Wilhelm's reign raises important questions about leadership, responsibility, and the factors that shape historical outcomes. Was he largely responsible for Germany's role in the First World War? Or were broader structural and international forces at play? What do you think about Wilhelm II's legacy? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content. Thank you very much for watching.